welcome back to another episode of World of Tanks and Guinea Titan, and we're here on the Sunset Coast in Encounter mode. I kind of want to talk about the Sunset Coast. It's one of the more recent maps that's been added to the game, and it was added actually as a result of a player survey. I think it was one of these ones Kaunas was the one I think was a player survey as well. But this one actually has a lot of soft cover, and it's got a lot of broken sightlines as well, but it also has a lot of pathways through it. So there's a lot of obstacles in the ground that break up sightlines, but at the same time there's a lot of pathways through it. And a lot of foliage cover, so you can be shot at from strange and unusual angles by people who are actually quite a long way away that you won't see unless they're spotted by somebody else because they're in cover. And it tends to suck tanks into the direction of contact or along the edges of the map. So people like going along the edges because they're sick of getting shot at from unusual directions. Because it's a very difficult map to maintain your situational awareness in, or at least to maintain the awareness of what your teammates are doing and where your teammates can support you. Because it's actually quite difficult to provide supporting fire. So it is very easy to be the sort of first tank to rush in, make contact with the enemy, and then you find you're making contact with multiple enemy at once, multiple bogies, as we say, at once, and you've been shot at from a number of different directions, and you can be pretty much destroyed before you get a chance to react to the initial contact. So we have a kind of a classic example here of it, where one of our medium tanks is pushed forward into multiple enemy tanks. Now that's a regular occurrence on World of Tanks, but I think I'm probably the only tank that's able to give them supporting fire, and I'm only able to give it to against a limited number of enemies because of the way that tank, the pilot, is pushed forward. There's no reason that there is actually will appear just now. A medium tank has appeared essentially behind him. Now I'd push forward to see if I could engage the medium tank. I could have gone around the other side of the rocks, but if I had done so, I might have been able to catch the medium tank, but I also might have very well exposed myself to a lot of tanks to the north of the VK4502, who would have been able to get flanking fire on me if I engaged the medium tank there that actually destroyed the pilot. And that medium tank is now behind me. So I'm going to push up, but again I'm going to be cautious around it and push around, because again it's the only chance I might have of getting some supporting fire. Now I'm not too sure if the tanks on my right can give me supporting fire. I presume the medium can. I'm not sure about the tank destroyer, because again of the way the lay of the land is laid out, and they just might not have a sight line to my location. Similar problem here. There's a Draugr in front of me, probably with a support tank beside it. I mean, there's two tanks there on the map. But if I pushed out across that open space in front of me, I would be very exposed there from tanks to the northeast and artillery. That was actually a nice shot, really. If I had backed up a bit further, he would have got me. Or at least got me really hard. Again, I push out here. I have a bit more cover on this side, but then immediately the ONE shoots back at me. So that ONE's up there again. It has cover. Now I'm not sure if it was me that spotted the ONE or if it was a different tank that spotted the ONE, but again the ONE prevented me from getting in behind and engaging the other enemy tanks. So I can come around this side, the T-54E2, so push forward too aggressively in my opinion. They're there more or less on their own against or what is this, helpless amount of enemy, or rather, yeah. I mean, okay, but they're very vulnerable as well. Now, as it turns out, there isn't many enemy tanks. There are allies, and the STG has managed to get close enough. The ONE has come down off the high ground, probably because it was just overexposed. Most of the high ground supporting positions aren't defensible. They're okay if the enemy you're engaging with is already engaged, but if you're trying to defend on your own, you're the frontline tank, they're generally not viable positions. Unlike, say, some other maps where you might have more distance to shoot at the enemy from, and more likely a chance that even if you're spotted, that they'll have other better targets than you to shoot back at. There's the Oni, not too far from his original position, and again we have a Nomad here at the corner. Now again I make another mistake with the Nomad, a mistake that I've made a few times already in this game, where I've been just over-relying on auto-aim. We've auto-aimed. The Nomad doesn't have great frontal armour, but it has very good sloping, and the Motherland doesn't have great penetration, so I've managed to put 3 rounds into well, this is the third round, put 3 rounds into the Nomad without actually damaging it at all. However, we're 2 tanks up at this stage, so the situation is not too bad. We're pretty comfortable now. There's an artillery up there, and the Oni was just spotted around the corner, but I didn't notice it, I think, in game. But I've been heading that way because I thought 2 tanks versus artillery should be more than enough, and the Oni has been moving the other way. I kind of dither about which direction I wanted to go, because it turns out the artillery has a friend. I reckon the other tanks seem to be prioritising the artillery and the tank destroyer, but they're positioning themselves between enemy fires. So they're positioning themselves between the Oni and the tank destroyer and the artillery, which is not a good place to be, because then you're taking fire from multiple directions, and your best armour isn't pointed at the Oni. So I can get in close to the Oni, and I can stay close to him. And I think if I stay close to him like this, he actually can't really shoot back at me, because I'm under the arc of the gun. So we stick close, just stay in there, and the Oni doesn't even try and shoot back at me. Did he fire at all? I don't think he did. One more shot should do it. And it looks like, yes, the artillery and the tank destroyer have managed to get rid of their enemies. Now I can't stay still, because of the artillery mostly. If the artillery is in the position to shoot me, the Ferdinand has got me. Now if the artillery was ready, they could have finished me just there, but I managed to, well, have a repair kit. I used the repair kit, got out of trouble a little bit. I did think about the artillery, but the enemy actually managed to claw back the position. Now we're still 2 tanks up, but there's 2 tank destroyers versus a medium tank. And depending on the tank destroyers and the medium tank, that might not be a very good match, because generally the advantage is often with the medium tank. They generally have better armour. Progetto 46 has actually got, okay, the armour isn't great, probably won't stop anything the tank destroyers have, but it's a fairly mobile tank. It's relatively hard to hit, and presumably he's got one of these multi-shot autoloaders again, same as a lot of these other Italian tanks. So he comes around here, opening fire. He is on fire, so I come for him basically. I can just use the gun when I have to, and we've managed to get rid of him. Now it's a question of where's the artillery. So there, just before I engaged the Progetto, a tracer from the artillery had come in, and I thought it was pointing to the north. So I kind of got fixated in the idea that the artillery was more or less north or northeast of my current position. Now I got the impression that the artillery was to the north of my current position, so I went off looking for it. If I'd been paying more attention to the minimap at this stage of the game, I would probably have been more aware that it was probably more likely to be down the eastern side of the map, because it had been seen later on and it hadn't really moved before we'd completed it, so we said the job in the middle of the map. Because we did have some survivors heading towards it quite recently. That artillery and its former ally has actually done very, very well. The Oni or the Nomad before it, because they kept, and the Ferdinand, because they actually managed to take out quite a lot of our tanks between them. Game over, so let's see what we've done. The tank destroyers actually managed to take out the tank. Now, we were in a very vulnerable position there at the end. Admittedly, it was just against artillery, but both of us were isolated from one another, so the, what do you call it? The enemy artillery could have done well there quite at the end. He had actually done pretty well throughout the game. I mean, he had 4 kills and quite a lot of damage done. That player was pretty much on the ball. 15 direct hits, best in game. I don't think most of those hits were non-penetrating, because 15 direct penetrating hits from this tank would have been a lot of damage. 3,000 damage. 4,500 damage, something like that. Maybe they'll return and give us the actual number of penetrating hits as well in a future update. I would look forward to that kind of a change, actually, because I think it's more useful information than the number of actual hits that you make. Well, thank you for watching. I will catch you again in the next one. Bye for now. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please press like, comment, share. It really helps the channel out. And if you have not already done so, please subscribe to the channel. I will catch you all again soon. Bye for now.